The competitive 40K network presents Art of War. Art of War. Strategy and tactics. Discussions with the best players on the planet. Now your host, Nick Nanavati.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Art of War podcast. This is a very, very, very special episode because it's our 275th episode, and it's also got Mark Hertel, the winner of the Las Vegas Open, the largest Warhammer 40K tournament to ever happen on the face of the earth. Mark, congratulations.
Thank you, Nick.
How does it feel? How does it feel being an LVO winner? It's such a coveted small league group.
It feels pretty good, Nick. It feels pretty good. Historic and just glad to be there.
Dude, it was such a pleasure hanging out with you, just having fun at the tournament. That's what it's all about. But you did it in style, dude. You really did it in some flair. You brought Deathwatch of all armies. This army's only been a faction again for like 1 month. They got a brand new Gravis attachment. Apparently, it's really good. What drew you to Deathwatch?
I've been playing Deathwatch for a while. I played them a lot in 8th and 9th edition when they were pretty good. But I always liked that attachment, and I actually just wanted to get best Deathwatch because I basically was top of the Deathwatch in ITC, and I just want to get best Deathwatch.
This man just wanted best Deathwatch. Well, you sure got it, Mark. And that's what we're here to talk about. Part one of this show is going to be getting to know Mark, getting to know his Deathwatch army, getting to know exactly how it operates, and helping you understand what you need to know to fight this menace. Because, after an army wins LVO, it's the new hot stuff on the streets. That's going to be part one. We're going to break down Mark's army and get to know Mark. Part two, that's for our patrons. We've been doing this show for 6 years, and we cannot do this show without all of your support. So thank you so much for all that. You can support the show by subscribing to our Patreon. It's $5 a month, gets you access to this episode and 274 other episodes. In this part two, we're going to cover Mark's 10-game marathon. That's right, 10 games of Warhammer. That's like 2 episodes in one, where we're going to break down all of his games, his play-by-plays, how it all works, so you can get a practical guide of playing with or against the Deathwatch, which are the newcomers on the street, folks. You want to know what this is about, all at your fingertips. Are you excited, Mark?
Oh, I was born excited.
He's born excited. He was born to win Best Deathwatch, born to win LVO, and now he's born excited. So tell me about when Gravis was coming out, right? This is like a month before LVO is happening. There's like a million new detachments in the game, a new balanced data slate. Where was your head at in terms of LVO preparation, like before Gravis, before you knew you were getting Deathwatch?
Well, I knew we were getting Deathwatch back because GW said we were getting Deathwatch back. So I was actually waiting for Deathwatch. I was waiting for that index. I was waiting for the index to see what Deathwatch would do.
Awesome. And like win, lose, like not win, lose, but good or bad, you were going to play Deathwatch regardless, pretty much?
I mean, if they were really bad, no. But like, if I thought they were better than the Marines, I was going to take them.
Yeah, I mean, if they're better than regular Marines, they must be pretty damn good. So, talk to me about the Deathwatch detachment. Like, what did you? I haven't honestly not even read this thing. So, fill me in. What is the Deathwatch attachment?
So basically, what it gives you is like Gladius mission tactics. You get like 1 turn of sustained hits on your entire army. You get 1 turn of lethal hits on your entire army, and then you have a third one which is useless. You get 1 turn of, on a critical hit, you get precision. So I've yet to even declare that one.
Nice. So you really have 2 army rules twice a game.
Pretty much. But they're pretty good army rules because they really bump up your efficiency on your damage. However, those only work on the kill teams. So that doesn't work on like land raiders or other stuff like that. It only works on the Deathwatch kill teams. LVO ruled that it worked on everything, but I didn't realize LVO had made that ruling until after I actually arrived in Las Vegas.
I thought you were going to say until after you won the tournament. I was going to be appalled.
I did use it at the tournament, but it only affected like the Rhinos and the Thunderstrike and the Combi-weapon. So it's not like it affected everything in my army.
Okay, so you got lethal sustain hits. What about your stratagem suite? What do you got?
For stratagems, these are the big ones. You've got Armory Contempt, of course. You have 1 CP. You can pick up 2 Deathwatch kill team units at the end of your opponent's fight phase. And they come back down the next turn with Deep Strike. So it's just like Demons, where you can pick them up at the end of your opponent's turn 1, and they can come down your turn 1.
Nice.
So
up and down's always very good. Yeah.
Then you have 1 CP. You can put two Deathwatch kill teams into mission tactics. The same one, either one you're not in or one you've already used before. You have 1 CP plus 6 inch range on your guns and extra AP. 1 CP assault and ignores cover. And you have 1 CP anti-infantry 2-up, anti-monster 5-up, but it doesn't work on dev guns. But I don't have any dev guns for it to work on.
Right. Okay, so a lot of utility strats here just amplify damage, and up and down can really help you apply it.
Yeah.
Okay, and when I think about Deathwatch, I think of like a super elite army here. And if I recall, last time you and I played a game, you're playing AdMech, which is very opposite, kind of stuff all over the place. How does Deathwatch align with your playstyle as an individual?
Very well. I like to play very aggressively. I like to have lots of like alpha strike, and I also like to be able to play technically too. So being able to teleport around the board gives me extra mobility, alpha strike, and I can deep strike almost half my army too. So like turn two, I'm coming in you with all my melee stuff, charging across the board, deep striking everywhere. You've nowhere to hide. I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, I mean you do like your aggressive play styles, and Elite Marines is definitely aggressive. Tell me about your list about you actually took to LVO. I'm so curious.
Yes, absolutely. So I took a Captain in Gravis Armour, Judiciar, a Lieutenant with Combi-weapon, a Watchmaster, and then for enhancements, I had the Tome of EctocladesJudiciar on the Captain in Gravis Armour, and Thief of Secrets on the Judicar. For Battle Line, I had 2 5-man Deathwatch Veteran squads. I had 1 10-man Deathwatch Veteran squad. For dedicated transports, I had 2 Rhinos. I had 2 Deathwatch Terminator squads, and then Dominator Kill Team, a Storm Speeder Thunderstrike, and a Talon Strike Kill Team. That's my list.
Wow, that is tiny. How did you find playing with like so few screens?
Everyone has to screen me. I didn't worry about that really.
Really, just like if someone had also deep striking damage potential on you and your elite marine army, you just kind of let it happen.
Well, because most of my army is either isn't on the table or is hidden.
Okay, yeah, it is very small footprint, so it's very easy to hide, I imagine.
Yes, because with those 2 Rhinos, and then I'm only starting the Indominator and 1 Terminator squad on the table usually.
Nice. Okay, so what would you say the overall strategy for this army is? How does it actually win games?
It wins games by usually the way I like to play it is I like to take my opponent off primary, and then I like to take more primary score. So even if I'm worse at doing secondaries, I'm going to beat you on the primary game, which is more reliable, and usually I'm able to score more on primary.
Yeah, and that's just by deep striking onto the midfield and like shooting them or charging them off objectives. How are you like holding primary? Is it just like you're durable on points, especially within respect to layout 6 of LVO? All of Saturday was played with open midfield objectives, so you really have to have a real plan for holding primary.
Yeah, so you just have to like just hold what you can. I've got the little lieutenant; he helps out sometimes. And then like, I can have a Judicar behind them, so if they're trying to get onto him, I can just hurl them and then kill whatever charged them. It's mainly just like those Rhinos really help. It's threat overload.
Threat overload. Okay, so talk to me about your stats here. When you're overloading, I imagine deep striking stuff from reserves, and then you're teleporting one unit from out of your deployment zone. You're pushing up with your Rhinos. What does a turn 2 or turn 3 threat overload look like for you?
Basically, it's usually most of my armies on the board. And then I'm just like 9 inches away from you. Terminators can charge. They re-roll the charges. I shoot the dangerous stuff that's out in the front. I kill most of what I shoot at, and I charge the other stuff.
Yeah, so just 9 away, like YOLO, let's do it. Do you ever find that's unreliable because you could just like fail your charges?
Well, oftentimes it's charges of convenience, so it's not necessarily like if I fail and I lose the game. Sometimes
Sure.
it is, but like I also have the melee threats that are moving up the table, like the Watchmaster, who can stage turn 1, and then turn 2, he can advance up potentially 12 inches and then charge.
Oh, okay. So you got a little bit of burst speed in there too.
Yeah.
Interesting. So talk to me about your damage output. Like I know you have lethal or sustained on command, basically. That's only once per game. And I'm not totally sure what kind of profiles we're firing here. What is the devastation that your army causes?
Oh Lord, Nick, if you really want to know, we'll be here for an hour.
Oh, Mark, sign me up. Let's start talking.
Oh man. So we'll start off with the Deathwatch Veteran squads. Basically, in the 5-man squad, you have a captain with a storm shield and a Xenophase blade. Xenophase blade is basically 4 attack, strength 5, AP2, 1 damage, but it's devastating wounds. And he's basically just a kid that's there. But you've got like 2 shooting weapons, which are like a frag cannon and a heavy bolter, which is also a heavy flamer if you decide to use it. The frag cannon is strength 7, AP1, 2 damage, rapid fire D3 shots. So as 18 inch range. So within 9 inches, you're shooting 2 D3 shots with blast, strength 7, AP1, 2 damage. Pretty good. And then you got Heavy Bolter. But what's really good is the melee on these guys. They've got 2 Deathwatch Thunderhammers, which are Strength 10, AP2, 3 damage flat, 3 attacks each with dev wounds. So you're getting like 6 Strength 10, AP2, 3 damage attacks, and most people don't like that. Now you double that on the 10-man squad. So you've got 4 Thunderhammers, 2 Frag cannons, and 2 Infernus Heavy Bolters, and then a couple guys with Storm Shields.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of melee threat.
I remember watching the finals game, not to put the cart before the horse here, where you just had 5 Deathwatch vets with Thunderhammers slam Marnie's Calgary and his friends into the dirt. And I was like, how did that even just happen?
Yes, that's how it happened.
That's how it happened. No, mass Thunderhammers with sustained hits. Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. Okay, so you have these little 100-point units that just kind of murder whatever they want, basically, with multiple Thunderhammers, Frag Cannon, Furnace Bolter. Like, that seems really good.
Yeah, but that's just one unit.
Yeah, okay.
Then I've got the Deathwatch Terminator Squads. Those guys have 3 Cyclone missile launchers in each, and they've got 5 Power Fist and Storm Shields, or Power Fist and Storm Bolters. So the Storm Bolters, that's 20 shots at 12-inch range, and then the Cyclone missile launchers, that's either 6d6 shots at Strength 4, AP1 damage, AP0 1 damage, or 6 shots at Strength 9, AP2 D6 damage.
Fascinating. Okay. And then talk to me about like these Terminator units. I know this seems to be like the most popular unit in Deathwatch, and you've only taken 2. What's that about?
So what they do is they're very versatile. They're only 180 points. They're Terminators, so they're really tough, and you can put almost any weapon set on them. So basically, like, you can have the 3 Cyclone missile launchers on them, and you can either do like 2 guys with Storm Shields and Thunderhammers for the extra wound. You can just get them out almost however you want them to. But they reroll charges, and on the charge, if they make a charge, they make you take a battle shock test, and if your Xenos is -1. So they're very versatile. You get reroll charges inherently, so they're pretty useful there, and they hit pretty hard, and they're pretty cheap.
Okay. They're just like a really strong like MSU unit, kind of goes in that threat overload, more attempts at YOLO 9s. I get you.
Yeah. And
Nice.
moving on, we have an Dominator kill team. That's the Gravis guys. So you've got 3 guys with the Power Fists and the Flamers. They're basically the aggressor profile. So it's D6+1 shots on the Flamers, and then 3 20 Power Fist attacks. Then you've got 3 guys with Melta rifles, 1 Multi-melta and 2 Melta rifles. You have 2 guys with the Deathwatch assault bolters, and you have 2 guys with the Deathwatch heavy bolter. So the Deathwatch heavy bolter is basically an upgraded heavy bolter. So it's strength 5, AP2, 3 damage flat, assault, lethal, and sustained. And then the assault bolters, they're just basically 2 shots each, strength 5, AP2, 2 damage with assault and lethal. But what's really good about this squad is they get +2 strength if they shoot the closest eligible target. So all of a sudden you can get strength 7 AP2 3 damage bolters, or strength 11 Melta rifles, strength 6 flamers. That's really good.
Wow. It sounds like your army just shoots way more than like your average Space Marine army, and your average Space Marine army shoots really, really hard. So that's quite impressive.
Remember those strats, Nick. Those strats are really good too. So
remind me what strats we're coupling here. Like, what is it doing?
So we're coupling +6-inch range, extra AP on Multi-meltas. You all of a sudden you go to 24-inch range, so your half range is 12 inches. So you drop in that within 9 inches, and all of a sudden you've got +2 damage on your Melta rifles with strength 11.
Jeez. Okay, I'm totally seeing how this is adding up now.
And AP5.
AP5, what a number. You got a 2-up save, now you don't. So you have all of the damage efficiency in the world. You're fairly durable. Your army is made of mostly 3-wound Space Marines, a couple 2-wound Space Marines. What are you concerned about? Is the fact that you have so few models relative to like some other options like a concern of yours?
No, my concern is if I don't kill enough on the drop. Basically, I need to kill your stuff that can kill me, or else I'm in trouble.
Right. That's easier said than done, especially on the higher levels of the LVO tables. You're no stranger to those, but when you were climbing up the competitive ladder, the lists and the terrain keeps changing based on the different matches of the format. You can run into situations where your opponents can screen effectively and keep their key assets alive and not really let you chew on much more than like some scouts or gargoyles, whatever, on your drop turn. How do you manage your opponent if they have good staging points and good screens?
Usually I'm able to get around them because like oftentimes on the LVO terrain, especially, you're not able to hide everything. Like the terrain was decent, but it wasn't perfect. Like you're not able to hide exactly everywhere. And like where you are able to hide, oftentimes I'm able to get angles. And
Yeah, that
basically,
makes a lot of sense.
I also have that 10-man Deathwatch Veterans Squad, which can charge up the table. So it's staged, so it's ready to move up and charge your turn 2 as well.
Just like moving 6 inches and charging.
But moving 12 inches is advance and charge.
Oh, okay. So it's fast. It gets
It's
around.
fast. Yes.
Okay. And that's 12 inches because of the Rhino, or is that 12
The
inches
12
from
inches
some
is the
rolls?
Watchmaster. So basically, they disembark. They usually disembark, stage a little bit up, stage a little bit up, and then turn 2, they can move up potentially 12 inches and charge.
Wow. Okay. So you're really going for like an all-in threat overload type of approach, you said. Is that always on turn 2, or is there more variability to that?
Oftentimes, it's turn 1 if I go second. Basically,
Bottom of 1, you're just sending it.
oftentimes because like you have no time to rest, give them no time to set up.
Wow.
But it
Wow. Wow.
depends. It
Wow.
depends on what I'm playing against, and it depends on what the mission is. Because I can't let my. Oftentimes, I don't like to let my opponent get into me and start screening me out. I like to force them back immediately. So basically, I don't let them get a chance to screen me out if they go first.
Okay. I like that. So it's just like constant pressure. And if you watch the finals game, you can definitely see that was absolutely the strategy that you employed there as well. Were you ever concerned that other armies have ludicrous offense in their Warhammer repertoire, so like you could also just die despite the fact that you're Space Marines?
Oh, I die all the time because I'm Space Marines. Everyone texts to kill Space Marines. Basically, the main thing is that like I have such a ridiculously small footprint that you can't shoot me until I decide to shoot you. Because when I deploy, Nick, basically I have 2 rhinos on the board. I have
Mhm.
the Dominator kill team and the Captain Gravis or the Combi-Lieutenant and 1 Terminator Squad usually. So what happens is I hide the Dominator kill team behind my home objective. They don't even have to be on it. Basically, but like they're hidden behind my main ruin in the back, so you can't even shoot them no matter what you do. They've got 2 rhinos, which are really hidden, very hard to see, almost impossible to see in almost every game. I've got a 5-man Terminator Squad that's hidden somewhere on the table as well. So if you go first, you're not able to teleport to me turn 1, and then you can't really shoot anything turn 1. And then if I go first, well, I stage. So it's like you can't really shoot me till turn 2, and then if you're going first and you don't position to shoot me, and if you do move up to shoot me, then I'm going to be able to shoot you back turn 1, charge you, do some stuff. But it all depends because like usually it's very hard to get to me.
If you are listening to this, it probably means you play Warhammer 40k. And if you're playing Warhammer, you know you need a lot of dice. Baron of Dice is where we get our dice from. They produce amazing different kinds of dice. We just recently got all kinds of different faction dice shipped to us, which we use on our stream games. But not only do they look really cool, but they're highly customizable. You can get different symbols, corners that are square, corners that are round, different shapes and sizes, different sided dice. It's all the rage. And they're customizable in color and design as well. They are so cool looking. Not only that, but they feel great to roll in your hands. I've never held dice that roll and feel this good. Not only that, but they are scientifically perfectly balanced. There are tons of case studies on people rolling thousands of dice and recording all the results that they get. And sometimes you might get a die that rolls just a few too many ones. We've all had to throw it out before. These dice are not like that. They are perfectly balanced to a T, thousands of rolls, perfect distribution. If you want to take your Warhammer game seriously and make sure the dice are not screwing you over, get some Baron of dice.
I see how your army can be very well hidden in the early game and then get the jump on your opponent through teleportation and just raw speed, and how it can be very explosive on bottom of 1, early, turn 2, that kind of stuff. What I'm not connecting is how your opponent can't counterattack you, right? Like, so once you go all in threat overload,
Oh,
by
they can.
Yeah, right. So by definition, you're
they
like
can
all
kill
up in their
almost anything
face.
that's on the table. But the problem is like some of my stuff is so tanky and takes so many shots to kill where they don't kill enough.
When you say they don't kill enough, you mean like how much is
they
enough?
kill like 1 unit.
That's it. Okay. I mean, like, are you that durable? Space Marines are tough, but like, you're that tough. You're just dudes walking around.
No, I'm not that tough. But sometimes they don't kill enough of like the Gravis kill team or something like that.
Right.
To completely kill them. But oftentimes they do. It's difficult because like you do have to kill enough on the drop, but like if you don't, then you are in trouble.
Yeah, right. What's like the goal of a drop turn for you?
Kill the threats to me. Because if I can kill everything that's a threat to me, then I don't have to worry about this stuff that's doing your actions and things like that. Like you can show your secondary points. I'll get you eventually because I can teleport around the board. It's mainly to kill the threats that can kill me.
How are you handling things that are layered in their defenses, like transports, right? You can like shoot the transport open, but then the guys get out and you can't necessarily charge them. They might be out of charge range and then they get to act upon you.
I've got 5 things of deep strike. Usually they can't hide all the things that hop out of transport. I'm able to kill them with a second unit.
Right. Now, when you were prepping for LVO, were you taking into account all the missions and the layouts and all that stuff when you were designing this list, or is this just like an agnostic tournament list that you think works almost anywhere?
It's pretty agnostic. I didn't look at the tournament list of the missions, really.
You won LVO without looking up the missions, Mark?
I looked at the missions, but I wasn't like, on this mission I can do this, on this mission I can do this. I knew the first 6 missions. I didn't know the last 4 missions. And I was just like, all right, cool, this is good enough.
Yeah, dude, I'm trying too hard. I just start charging them with yellow nines. What's going on?
It's basically just because like I said, the list hides on any terrain.
Yeah, the hiding I get, dude. I love the explosive counter strike you have, where you're not even counter strike, but the ability to like not take damage in the first turn and then just like blow up in their face and kind of like overload them. I watched it happen. Obviously, it worked for you. You won LVO. It's such a fun, unique play style. I love it. Now, talk to me, I guess, about the primary, secondary portion of your game. I know you said your plan is to win primary. Are you just putting bodies on objectives and saying deal with me, or are you like charging off objectives and just like killing your opponents so they can't have primary?
Both. Basically both. I like to deny my opponent primary. That's the easiest way to win, because if your opponent like loses 5-10 points on primary and you're scoring max on primary, then you will win. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Like I try and deny my opponent primary as much as I try and get primary myself.
Do you ever find that in the battle for primary, you're forced to trade down because you have like 200-point units and things, and other people have cheaper things?
Sometimes, but oftentimes, yeah, sometimes I do. But like usually, I'm not trading down. Usually, I'm getting multiple kills or doing multiple things.
Yeah, I guess you're not interested in doing like a 1 unit at a time trade battle. You're interested in sending everything all at once.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, and then what about secondaries? Like especially if your army is so elite and you lack for screens and cheap action monkeys, like who's doing cleanse, who's doing investigates or establish locus, all of that stuff, or just standing in places you don't necessarily want to stand.
Well, it depends on the mission. It depends on the circumstances. But sometimes I'll pick up units that support around the board so that they can do missions. Sometimes I'll just be like, just focus on killing my opponent, running them down the table, and making sure they can't score anymore. Because if you can just deny your opponent scoring points, oftentimes that's more points than if you were to just score a little bit more. But it depends on the secondary. It depends on other things like that. Cleanse, I usually don't even do unless I've got a couple of units that I'm not worried about, because I don't think cleanse is worth the 2 points. So for a full unit to not doing something, oftentimes it's better for like a big expensive unit to just be killing more stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Basically just damage over mission play, which is like very opposite to how I approach Warhammer. And I think it's so fascinating that you have been able to have such a successful run, embracing it. Just really goes to show that different approaches really do work here. I love that. So you've got your primaries and your secondaries kind of figured out. Talk to me about your CP management. Where are you spending your command points?
So that's very good. So usually what I'm doing is the Captain Gravis Armour is using this free strat to give himself and the Terminator's teleport turn 1. So that's a free CP right there. I've got a free strat on the Captain of the Watchmaster when he opts out the Rhino, so he can also do other stuff like that. Basically, it's I'm mainly using it turn 1. If I go first, I'm usually not doing much melee or shooting. I'm usually just hiding, staging. So usually, if I go first, going into turn 2, I have 2 or 3 CP because I've maybe discarded 1, and then I've not used any strats either because I've got a use Captain's strats to pick up himself and the Terminators. So going into turn 2, I've got like 3 CP. I've got 2 free strats. I'm just able to do almost anything I want to.
Yeah, so CP economy is not really a concern of yours. Are you spending things for like grenades and armor of contempt, or is it all offensive strats?
All will do defensive strats as well, because do have to keep your units alive because they are so important. Because you only have so many of them. Yeah, there's very few units you have. I
Right.
will use go to ground sometimes. I will use armor contempt. But it depends on what's being shot at. Depends on what I need them for.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got your CP management down. We've got your secondaries and primaries covered. Let's talk about some tech. Okay. Now it sounds like your army is very elite and it's got CP management, but like it might be vulnerable to things like the Lord of Discordance ability, whatever it's called, the Vector, that makes CP
Yeah.
cost more. And then not only that, but you seem a little reliant on teleportation. So you're perhaps vulnerable to counter rapid ingress, which everybody has access to, or even just like a 12-inch no-go zone aura, like if you're playing against some infiltrators. How do you handle these like anti-mark pieces?
They didn't really come up that often. Only a couple of lists have the infiltrators, and usually the infiltrators are 100 points for a unit that does not hit back. My list is a list that will hit you hard. If your infiltrators are up close, I can just run them down with my 10-man squad with the Captain Watchmaster. That'll free up a lot of room for next turn. Basically, most people, like Jack was the only person who played his infiltrators even remotely outside his opponent zone. Mostly everyone else was playing them like inside the opponent zone. So, and even then, like Jack had to hide them behind the ruins in the corner. So like they held out a corner of the opponent zone, but I had the rest of the map that I was able to come down and shoot everything. Because on GW maps, like most of the ruins, most of the objectives are out in the open. Like if the objectives are out in the open, I'm gonna be able to shoot you. But anyways, rapid ingress, you still need to screen out stuff, and like you can easily do that with like your big units and like the when you come down, you can basically be like, all right, cool, you could come down here, but we're just gonna move this model a little bit back so you can't come in over here.
Yeah. It's very much like if they're using it aggressively to actually hamper your game plan, you can kill them. And if they're using it defensively to guard their backfield, whatever, you weren't going there anyway because it's so easy to screen that naturally. Since you're deep striking 9 inches away, like 6 inches or anything cool like that, did you find that, you're unable to come in and get good charges, that you're unable to come in and get good line of sight against players who could screen effectively?
No, I was able to get it pretty easily most of the time.
Really? Okay. That's interesting. I guess that's part of the tables. The GW layouts are quite
GW
open
layouts
like that.
are very good for that.
Yeah, for sure. Especially layout 6 is like one we played on the most, and layout 6 is very angular for deep strikes. Did you rapid ingress at all with this army?
Maybe once.
Yeah. That's surprising because rapid ingress is such like a meta-defining strat. Like it is so good, but I guess the way you play your army tempo-wise, it wants to be faster than rapid ingress will allow.
Yes.
That's pretty interesting. How did you come up with this as like a strategy? This is perhaps counterintuitive to conventional Warhammer, where top players typically like a slower, more controlled game.
This is just my playstyle in general. I like to play very aggressively. I like to force my opponents to make decisions that they don't want to make. Like I will put a unit onto objectives turn 1 and force you to come out to me immediately, or else I'm going to score like 10, 15 points on primary. Like because like I want you to basically commit, and when you commit, I'm going to hit you back harder.
Yeah. And is that by putting durable things on the objectives early to force overcommitments, or is like anything good enough?
Anything's good enough. Usually, it could be a Rhino. It could be the 10-man Watchmaster squad. I did that in the last game with LVO because he had a scout squad out there. I was able to charge them and shoot a squad. But it really depends on the circumstances. But usually, I'm putting at least something on the objective to force you to deal with it.
Dude, I want to pick your brain so hard about that finals game, but I'm gonna wait until part 2 because that's obviously when we cover all of your matchups and all that. That's the game I watched that you played, and your strategy literally blew my mind. I was like, how is this what he's doing in the finals of LVO? But it obviously worked for you, and it was truly impressive to watch. So let me ask you a bit of a shift in terms of rather than talk about how your list works, but talk about how your list was planned to work. What was the meta that you expected for LVO? We got all these Gravis detachments, balanced data slate. There's Custodes Dreads doing well. Final Day is a thing. All these Space Marine armies are kicking ass. At Bridgehead, Strike Force is an army. Like, what was your expectation for the meta?
I expected to see a lot of Necrons. I expected to see. Well, I didn't face any Necrons, but I was expecting to face some Necrons. The Star Shatter, of course.
Right.
I don't know what it's such a huge tournament. You have to be ready for everything. Like
Right.
I like to build all comers lists. Basically, I like to build lists that can deal with almost anything because like you have to be ready for hordes. You have to be ready for mech. You have to be ready for everything at LVO because there's 1,000 players. You don't know what you're gonna face. There's no telling.
Was there like a theoretical problem that you were just hoping to dodge?
No.
Oh, that's good. That's really good in the game this wide with 1,000 players. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I felt my list was pretty strong into most things.
It obviously was.
Tyrannus was Spore Mines. Tyrannus was Spore Mines. That's what I wanted to dodge.
Right, because they can screen you out and you can't actually get any value off the Spore
me
Mine.
out. And then it's just like, oh, you scream out with a Spore Mine. That's not committing to anything.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I was really worried about.
Interesting. Okay. You weren't concerned about like GSC and stuff like resurrecting what you kill?
No, because like I've played against that before. Now it's limited.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so really great army you've designed here, Mark. It's very unique in its approach to winning Warhammer, and it's kind of pure. I gotta say, I kind of love it. It's very like I'm gonna kill your toys with my toys, and I think that's an awesome way to win. So, what is an inspiring piece of advice you could give an up and coming Warhammer player?
Don't be afraid to lose. Play people better than yourself. Basically, you will lose games. I lose games. I lost a game at a GT the week before LVO to a guy. I went 2-2 at that tournament.
You went 2-2 the week before you won LVO?
Yes. It keeps you humble. I lost to a guy who he played really well. It was his first GT. He played really well, and his dice were really hot though. I should have killed some Doomsday Arcs that didn't die, but he still played it really well. But I lost to him round 3, and then round 4 I lost to Josh, a really good Necron player, one of the best Necron players. I think he got second in Necrons this year. He was also LVO, but like, yeah, I went 2-2. It's really tough meta in my area, East Coast.
Oh yeah, I've been there a bunch of times.
But that's the thing is, it's like you will lose games. Even the best player at LVO. I mean, the person who won LVO at least. Not necessarily best, but the person who won. We lose games. Everyone loses games. Don't be afraid to lose games. Don't be afraid to ask your opponent, wait, maybe I could have done something better. Maybe, because like that's what I do with like Josh when we play all the time. Is we ask each other, hey, did I do something wrong? How did I do better? Did you think what did you think I did wrong? Because maybe you didn't see something that your opponent saw.
Right, absolutely. I think that's great advice, and I'll tell you, I lose more than I win. If you're winning all your games, you need to find some better opponents. But Mark, I got to ask you, when you're going 2-2 at a GT the week before LVO, is that a shake to your confidence?
Yeah, it was.
I can imagine, right?
That's why I just came into this hoping to win best Deathwatch.
Right. Kind of set those reasonable expectations out there, but then you blew them out of the water because you won not only best Deathwatch but best player in the room that day. That's amazing, dude. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, listeners, I'm so excited because we got 10 games to break down with Mark over here. We're going to spend a minute in part 2 going through all of those. And I've been press Mark for some answers because YOLO 9, the strategy, it's a little sketchy for me. So we're going to understand exactly how Mark does it. How does he threat overload? Where does he put his models? How do people not respond effectively? And how does he go 10-0 in the biggest Warhammer tournament ever played? If you're interested in catching that, you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/AOW40K. It's $5 a month. You get access to this part 2. We're covering the games. Also 270 other part 2s with other coaches and other players and all of their tournament histories. You're going to learn so much. So if you're interested in competitive Warhammer, you like the show, please support $5 a month, patreon.com/AOW40K. Mark, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, folks, catch us in part 2 for a continuation of this conversation. See you next time.
Like what you just listened to? Check out Art of War Down Under and Art of War Unbroken on the competitive 40K network. TheArtofWar40K.com.